Hi everybody, this is the second video. We're calling this on Canvas 9.6. The title and the Khan Academy title for the lesson is Solving Quadratics by Factoring. Again, that's about finding zeros or the x-intercepts. Everybody say finding zeros. Everybody say x-intercepts. Thank you. And this will help you with the exercise Quadratics by Factoring intro. We're not going to do more than this because for our purposes and distance learning, we're just going to deal with x squared being a 1x squared. If you want a 2x squared or a 5x squared, I can assign those lessons to you and I can definitely help you during office hours. So let me know if you need or want that extra challenge. Okay, so here's the problem you'll see first, and I don't like that they have smaller x and larger x, but they do, and we have to work within this program. So some background first again. So you have a function that looks like this. Right away, we change that f of x to y because that's what we're comfortable with. And we need to find those roots. So this one, just because I know this is going to have two negative roots, let's say that they're right here, and so my axis of symmetry is always right between them, so I'll just make it look something like this. And so again, this is somewhere on the x-axis, maybe -8, hint hint, but we're going to call this r1. And then my y value, no matter what, is 0 because it's on this x-axis. Again, this one can be the second root, and then my y value is always 0. So that's why if you see this, you know that you're finding your roots because it's 0. All right, we're going to factor this just like we did last week. So we have two solutions because it's x squared, and I'm going to say that it equals 0. So this equaling 0 is different from last week. So everything for this one is positive. So x plus and x plus. And you're playing the same game. So add to make 12 and multiply, or I like to kind of do this, to make 32. And we start with the multiplication. So we've got 1 and 32. We've got 2 and 16. We've got 4 and 8. And I think that's it. Not 5, not 6, not 7, and then we're back up to 8. So then they have to add and make 12. Well, these, if we add or subtract, we either get 33 or 31. 2 and 16 gives us 18 or 14. So it's 4 and 8. And again, everything's plus in this one, so it makes our life easy. So we have a +4 and a +8. So then, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing one of my favorite properties. You know, they're all just rules. It's called the zero product property. Everybody say zero product property. Or with my 80s and 90s rap sensibilities, we'll call it the ZPP. And I ask often, are you down with ZPP? Get it? Zero product property, ZPP. So that states that if we have two numbers, right? That's all these are, is some kind of numbers. If this might be 5 if x is 1. So we have two numbers and they multiply to give us 0. If we have two numbers to multiply that gives us 0, think about what that looks like for a moment. No matter what, at least one of them has to be 0. So a equals 0. So I'd say a and or b equals 0. Okay, so one of these has to equal 0. Well, if we're finding roots, then after we factor, we set them both equal to 0. X plus 4 equals 0. Remember, we're finding that x-intercept, that root, and x plus 8 equals 0. So now from last week to this week, all we essentially did was add a one-step algebra problem by following the zero product property. So to undo that 4, what do we do? See you later. So x for this one is -4, and you'll see really quick these, you know, obvious connections to what happens there and then what that ultimately looks like. Again, this could have been 2x plus 4 or 3x plus 4 if this x squared had a coefficient in front of it other than 1. So if it was 5x squared, our factoring just gets a little more challenging, and so we're just going to keep it real and pretty basic for this. So I subtract 8 from both sides, and so these make 0, so I've just got x equals, and 0 take away 8 is -8. So again, back up to here, they say smallest or largest. So the smaller is really the least or lowest number. And so that's for these, since they're two negatives, when you think about a number line, if this was 0, well, this maybe would be -4, and this would be -8. So the lowest number here is -8. And then the larger number, or larger x. And so in the box, I would put -4. And again, that goes in these boxes. Okay, let's do 2 more. Take your notes, use your notes, use your notes. I hope people have noticed that some of these do show up on your own problems. Okay, so we've got this one here. I've got my 2 factors, open, close, equals 0. I know that these are both x times x because they make x squared. So we'll put multiply first to give me 18, the last term or the constant, and add or subtract to give me -11. Oh, so this is one of those, if you multiply to get a positive number, both numbers are positive or both numbers are negative. So for this one, both numbers have to be negative to get this middle term. So let's talk about these factors. We've got 1 and 18. These are a lot of factors. 2 and 9. 3 and 6. No 4, no 5, and we're back up to 6. So which ones add or subtract to make 11? If I add these, I get 19. If I subtract them, I get 17. If I add them, I get 11. Woo, woo, woo! And if they're both negative, and -9. So just check it out. Do I multiply? A negative times a negative is a positive. Do I add or subtract them? If I add, it's really add, sorry. So if I add them, -2 plus a -9, -2 plus a -9, you're going down more, you get -11. So -2, -9. And again, you can FOIL them just like we did 2 weeks ago and double check. All right, ZPP in effect, x minus 2 equals 0, x minus 9 equals 0, and then I'm just gonna flip them. I'm gonna do them both at the same time. +2, +9, +9, +2. So these cancel and make 0, these cancel and make 0. So x equals 2 and x equals 9. And so again, the smaller number, if I have to plug that in, smaller is gonna be 2 and larger is gonna be 9. Those are my roots, my x-intercepts, my zeros. Last one. All right, let's move this a little bit. Okay. All right, sorry. Okay, so let's go over here. Open, close, equals 0. X and x. All right. Oh my gosh, if you hear my child, he is just like yelling upstairs. It is so funny. Okay, so multiply to give me -10. So one has to be positive and one has to be negative. And add to give me a +3. So for 10, I've got 2 and 5 or 1 and 10. So 1 and 10, if I add or subtract them, they will only make 11 or 9, okay? No, it's gotta be them. So which one is negative? Well, which one? This is when this one comes in. So which one is negative to give me a +3? Well, I do know that 5 take away 2 is a +3. So it must be 5 and -2. So multiply, give me a -10. Add them together, they give me a +3. So I'm going to say +5 and a -2. Back up to here. All right, ZPP. Yeah, you know me. Miss Taylor getting so nerdy cool on the YouTube. All right, -5 from both sides. Add 2 to both sides. You never stop using Algebra 1. You just don't. You gotta remember it. You gotta keep it fresh. All right, so these are our 2 roots. Again, if we're thinking about what they mean, at -5, there'd be something that looks like this. And at 2, there would be a 0. And it's a positive x squared, so it definitely goes up, something like that. Okay? So the smaller one is the bigger negative. So see, I don't like that because it's like this is 5 is a bigger number, but they're talking about like lowest on the number line. So our answers are -5 and 2. You're all ready to try this exercise. Hope you're having a great day.